Alright, here's the deal. Today is February 9th. It is actually about 48 degrees right now on February 9th. The ground is not frozen in any way, shape, or form, and honestly has not been frozen at all the entire winter of 2023-2024 here in south central Iowa. I am on the new farm, the new 60, whatever you want to call it, and I am about to attempt to do the very first thing, I guess, step one of what are we going to do with this new farm. Now I will say I've done one other thing, insert clip here. I have spread about 3 loads of manure on the farm. Roll the clip. Today is December 21st, 2023, and I just wanted to document it. This is the first day of work at the new farm. This is the 60 acres, the new farm, the 60, whatever we want to call it, right around the corner from our farm. And what this farm needs probably the most right now is fertility. That's where this comes in. We have farmed for 15 years now, and we have spread manure once in that 15 years. We don't collect a lot of manure. We have the hoop house where the pigs are, but they're only there in the winter. And then we have the winter lot where the sheep and the cattle are in the winter. We build up a little manure there, but we have only spread once in 15 years. So we've got a lot of manure to spread. We've got a small manure spreader. This was 6 loads with the skid loader bucket. We're gonna put it on, see what we can grow. We still have no plan of what we're doing with this ground completely, but we know it needs fertility. So fertility is what it gets. Now, the reason that it's only 3 loads of manure is, well, for a few reasons actually. One, I had just got the manure spreader and then it started raining right after we had gotten it home. 2, then it started snowing and was just muddy. And 3, then, you know, the snow melted and it was muddy and the ground isn't frozen. I would like to get out and spread some more manure. I feel like I've got the spreader dialed in, figured out, well, whatever. It's not like it's rocket science, but I know how to fling some manure around here, and we have plenty of it back at the home place, which is about a quarter mile as the crow flies from where I sit right now. But I'm going to need the ground to freeze. It's still pretty soft right now, which is why I'm out here with this shovel. I'm going to do some soil tests today, and the idea is to figure out what we're starting with. I know we're not starting with a lot. This is a farm that has been conventionally row cropped for years. I do know about 15 years ago, at least, when we first purchased and moved to our farm around the corner here, there was some hay ground here. So there has been some time when it has been in hay ground, but in recent memory, it's been conventionally row cropped. And not to cast blame or aspersions or anything like that, but it probably was taken from and not added to as much as it was taken from. So I'm guessing that it is not as good as the ground at our home place that we've rotationally grazed for quite a few years. The ground is a little damp, which is good because we've been in a drought. So the soil probe they sent me wasn't working great. So I'm going to dig some holes, kind of scrape alongside the hole, mix it together in a bucket from a bunch of different spots within different spots of the field, if that makes any sense. And then we'll send it off for the soil test. And then we got to talk about what we're going to do with 50 acres of pasture. How do we pay for what we're going to do? Will it pay what we're going to do for the value of doing what we're going to do? I don't know. There's a lot going on in my brain. Good thing number 1, found a little itty bitty earthworm right there, about 4 inches down. We'll protect you over here. There you go, buddy. All right, I got 3 samples from this north flat area, if we want to call it that. I'm gonna break it up, mix it together, dump it in the bag that says north flat, and then we'll go do this 3 other times. I probably won't show you it all, but something very encouraging. I found an earthworm in 2 out of the 3 holes that I dug. In fact, one of the holes had 3 earthworms in just this little shovel's width of dirt. So very exciting, very exciting. Deciding what to do on this property is a big deal right now. We have, as I said, 50 acres, and I know I've said that already, but we have 50 acres. Now we've come up with a lot of options of what we're going to do, and what we know we're not going to do, at least at this moment, is put it back in row crops. I had considered it. I had put together a business plan where we would use some of this ground for row cropping, but the problem that I ran into was I just don't know anything about it. It would be maybe planting it ourselves and hiring somebody to custom harvest it, or just hiring all of it done custom. It's just not what I know. What I know, if you want to call it that, is grazing. And so that's what I would like to do. The challenge, of course, is how do you turn 50 acres of bean stubble into grazing land without breaking the bank? That's the challenge we have right now. Okay, well, to be completely honest, it's been a few days since I took those soil samples, and so I do want to talk to you a little bit about where my thoughts are right now. Mass confusion, okay? I am overwhelmed by the number of possibilities of things that we could do with this farm. Right now, what we're mildly set up to do is graze. And I say mildly because we aren't necessarily set up to put the seed in the ground or come up with a plan of how to seed this or what to seed here, but we do have more animals than we have row crop equipment, so that was the best idea that I could come up with so far. Let me throw out some buzzwords for you right now. Words like regenerative, words like pasture raised, grass fed, bigger words like mycorrhizal fungi and carbon and litter and carbon cycle and compaction and so many things, water infiltration, so many things that I don't understand, or I understand just a little bit. And then you have other things and people who are behind teaching about this way of farming and the new and different things that you can, I don't even know if it's new, but just what we're learning and how you can apply it. People like Gabe Brown and Greg Judy, of course, Joel Soliton. There's so many of these grazers, regenerative farmers, Will Harris from White Oak Pastures. And then there are just other people that are, I don't know if you want to call them that, normal farmers like me, people that are doing it on a smaller scale than, let's say, a Greg Judy with his 1,900 acres, or White Oak Pastures, or Gabe Brown that are doing it in those, 2,000 plus acre levels. They're doing it on 25 or 50 acres like what we want to do, and they've got opinions and ideas, and they all are great, but it feels like in some ways everyone has a different idea of how to go about it. Greg Judy's got a little bit of a different idea. Same principles, same idea, same ending point, I think I would say. At least similar ending point. But he's got a little bit of different idea than, say, Gabe Brown does, or say what Will Harris does. They all have different opinions, and here I am in Iowa, and what do I do with this land? So, like I said, at one point I was thinking row crops, and then slowly transition things into pasture, hay ground, whatever it is. And then I got to thinking, well, I can't do that. What do I know? Well, I know ravines. I mean, I've got a lot of them. But what do I know? And in a lot of ways, what I know is, or what I can sell is, grass-fed animals. Beef, lamb, pasture-raised chicken, pasture-raised pork. And I need this ground, such as it is, with its bean stubble litter and clay soils on the side hills. And what I'm guessing is a lot of compaction. How do I make money off of this ground? And I think the best way that I can make money off of this ground is by selling meat raised from this ground. what I would like to do is ask for your help. So if you have any ideas of what I should do, put them down in the comments below. But here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, you know, if Greg Judy was running this and this was a part of his, let's say, you know, 500 acre operation, and he had other pastures around it, he'd roll out hay and he'd bring cattle in, a big mob, and he'd put them down and then he'd take them off. I really can't do that because I only have 20 acres is all I have to graze, and I don't have a big mob of cattle or sheep. So my initial idea is to get oats and peas on this as early as I can in the spring. Get something on the ground, get something in the soil, producing roots, producing cover, you know, bringing in nutrients, holding the earth together. That's priority number one for me. Then maybe I can graze that, maybe I can bale some of it, you know, get to a summer and plant a summer cover crop. The biggest question for me is, I feel like that's a good idea there. The biggest question then becomes, when do I plant a perennial pasture? Next year? This fall? 2025? I don't really know. So like I said, I would love your thoughts. This is going to be a big journey, and I want to make it as educational for myself and everyone that wants to come along for the ride. So help me share this out there if you are interested in what we're doing here at Crooked Gap Farm as we transition 50 acres of conventionally row crop ground into perennial pastures raising grass-fed meats. Follow along, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your moms, tell your dads. Until next time, I hope you guys are having a great time. I'm going to hopefully be spreading manure next time we do a little recording here at the farm.